Okay, let's start hatching. So, this hatching is going to be interesting because we need to add a bit of materials and also try to blend the technical drawing with the freehand drawing. And I recommend for the technical drawing that we go for a black and white presentation, and for the perspective, the constructed perspective, we go for colors, complementary colors as always. Okay, so we are starting off with hatching the volumes, okay, the shadowed faces, so to speak, and the cast shadows. Always remember, when you are about to hatch, don't go for the instinctual approach, which is just a hatch, but consider just two things: hatching shadows and hatching materiality. Okay, so there always needs to be method to the madness. In this case, we are hatching shadows first, and then we will go for materials. Okay, for wood, for all the different textures, etc. Okay, good. So let's add those gradients over there. Really good. And we need to start, obviously, hatching the shadows everywhere. Okay, really nice. Okay. So it's a matter of a gradient going darker towards the foreground and slightly lighter as it goes in perspective. Even if it's an axonometric, we are trying to get this effect. Okay, back there we've got a curve, and that curve needs to be darker because it's starting like a shadow. And now I'm hatching the materials a bit, the wood texture. Okay, just to add that wood grain. Yeah, this is very good. And yeah, adding this wood grain is really important. Okay, with a kind of like tiger thing. Okay, you've got a white part and a darker part. Okay, and now again it's a matter of just adding all these gradients. You see these cast shadows, they tend to be darker towards the viewer, but you can't just leave them at that. You need to add more information. Okay, just to get a well-rounded effect, so to speak. Okay, a bit more of a gradient there. Okay, good. And a stronger gradient. You can have this sort of effect with very strong, contrast for cast shadows. Yeah. And this is kind of looking like stainless steel. It's not exactly there. It's kind of there. And it needs to have a slightly darker part where the shadow is. Okay, good. Yeah, this is going to go on for a while because we need to get this effect proper. You need to get this this gradient looking good. And don't forget that everything you are drawing needs to be seen from 3 meters, 6 meters, and 1.5 meters. So the distance at which you are going to see this drawing is different than the distance where you are drawing now. Okay, just keep that in mind for future reference, because that's why we keep adding this contrast, because we want our drawings to look good from the proper distance. Okay, good. More of the foreground elements over there. We will probably construct a reflection. Again, a reflection means doubling. You double the elements on the horizontal. Okay. This is going to be very interesting. And it's really going to create this effect. A bit more dynamic image. A bit of a wood grain there as well. And it's mostly a matter of line drawing for this wood grain. You need to create a kind of very accurate, precise wood grain texture just with your lines. Okay. So let's start coloring. We'll start with the shadows. Obviously that volume on the right hand side is going to be a, from the axonometric, is going to be a mix of the two. Okay, the shadows and the black and white and the color. Okay. Let's do our best to make that cylindrical shaped volume kind of transparent, okay? Again, we are hatching shadows and materiality. That's going to be shadows there as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've got that element there. A bit of a gradient. Again, the edge which is closest to you is darkest. You want to maintain this visual language. And the reflections are the lighter versions of the initial object. Okay, good, good. You've got a bit of transparency there. That's always a good sight because it adds more information to your drawing. And yeah, let's finish this off. Okay, very nice. Yeah, let's thicken that part there because you see it. It's not transparent, so to speak. It's not seen through transparency. Okay, you can get a very light, delicate drawing, but at this stage I recommend you just go all in. Okay, you go all in because it's the it's kind of the safe way, right? Risky is safe and safe is risky. Don't be safe when hatching. Just go for contrast, go for clarity. Okay, maybe we need to show a bit of that wood grain through the glass part over there. Okay, maybe that will work. Okay. Thickening a bit of the volumes and the line drawing. And yeah, a bit of the wood grain going all the way up. Okay, nice. Yeah, these are backlines, so we'll leave them with that. You can tell that the axonometric can act as a foreground for mixing the perspective and the technical drawing as some sort of a composition. So the technical drawing, in this case, the axonometric is going to be the foreground for the perspective, so to speak. That's how we will arrange this in the layout. Okay, good, good. Now a short background hatch, sorry, just to get a bit more of that outline standing out. Remember those swoosh shapes? Okay, they work really well to create this effect of spatial curve. Okay, you want that. And again, let's go for a gradient. And let's thicken those lines a bit. Can't wait to go for the complementary color, as in orange, because that's going to really, really create that colored gray effect. Okay, we've got a little focus point there, you see, next to the prism, the vertical dominant. We've got a little focus point. The shading is darker. Okay, you don't want to make everything dark. Just add gradients all the time. Remember, that's the basics. Adding gradients all the time. Okay, nice. And a bit more of a background. Yep. More of a gradient in the foreground next to the axonometric. And next up we will be starting hatching with orange because we want those colored grays, right? Short recap, colored grays are when you mix complementaries and you get, if you mix complementaries in a 50-50 ratio, you get these shades of gray, okay, which are, funny enough, created by colored crayons. Okay. Good. Let's add a bit more of a gradient for the cast shadows. Adding the orange where we've got cast shadows. And then let's go for hatching the reflections and the checkerboard base. Okay, because we need to have that spatial depth again. As I said before, these are graphics tricks. You just use them to get better graphics. They won't add that amount of depth to your drawing, as in the reflections, background, and checkerboard, but they'll work very well to create a fuller image. Okay, let's go. Let's add more gradients. Right, let's copy everything with a gradient. Okay. And yeah, it's just a matter of creating a balance. Use both types of hatching to get that effect. Smudged hatching and textured hatching, okay? This is mostly smudging now because it's it's a very delicate area. So you don't want to add too much texture. And now let's see how this reflection is going to look like. Maybe we will make it look a bit more clearer in a volumetric sense, so you can read the volume easier. Okay, good. Yeah, so this is very good. Obviously, you don't need to go overboard. Keep in mind the whole image. You don't want to darken everything. For this perspective, I recommend you darken, the focus point, so where you want your viewer to look, right? So at those cast shadows, at the, elements, the vertical dominance of your perspective. But other than that, I'd recommend to not go overboard. Just leave it like this for now. We will basically need to mix and match, to kind of draw a border that makes the axonometric stand out in a way, okay? So that's kind of the high point of this drawing. Okay, a bit more hatching in the foreground. Okay, good. And we got several more elements. A bit of orange there on the transparent volume. Okay, so let's finish off this axonometric. You can make the colors jump. As you know, I always recommend you get the main colors and you don't just use them in your main piece. You also make these colors jump, like a bit of orange there, a bit of light blue there, just to create this effect of a balanced visual composition. Okay, good. A bit more of a gradient. Yeah. This is starting to look proper. Yeah. We need to thicken these lines a bit, but yeah, we will get there. Maybe a bit more background. So the objective is to get this clarity and a constant gradient. Okay, there's no flat surfaces in our drawing. I know you can create a drawing which has, you know, just flat surfaces all over. It can be very conceptual and whatever, but it won't get that effect of a spatial depth, you know. And the spatial depth is the most important thing now. Okay, so more gradients here and there, just to create everything, to put everything together. Okay, more of a gradient here and there. And let's thicken the most important lines. You can create this effect. You get a eraser with a you know, sharp edge, and you use it to create these, you know, streaks of light or contour lines even. Okay, this does work. This looks really good. Okay, let's finish the hatching for the planar view. You've got a long cast shadow there, which makes sense because we constructed it. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just hatch that. It's fairly repetitive. I've got a A4 piece of paper under my hatching hand. It's kind of, yeah. Should get a new piece of paper because this is looks kind of used, but whatever. Let's just focus on hatching the cast shadows in planar view. Okay, good. So a gradient, a base gradient. You can go for, you know, a gradient from the get-go. You can keep this as you know, a uniform patch of color. Yeah, that part over there is actually a volume shadow because the curvature of the cylindrical piece. Okay. Right. Yeah, let's add those gradients. And yeah, everything sticks together then. Okay, this is starting to look kind of interesting. You've got kind of a lot going on this drawing. It's a nice blend of freehand and technical. Actually, not really freehand because everything is constructed, but, you know, artistic drawing and technical drawing. Okay, another curve there, which is going to have to be slightly darker. Yeah, that curve going in. Yeah, we're getting this effect. Okay, this is looking interesting. Obviously the cast shadows are going to be darker because they are cast shadows. And we will darken the edge that again is closest to us. Constant gradients. These constant gradients will you know, give spatial depth. So although our image is flat, okay, it needs to look like a volume. That's how you get good architectural drawings, even if they're, you know, frontal view or planar view. Okay, good. So we got everything here inclined. And let's get that edge looking proper. And yeah, this is how we are going to finish off this drawing. Hatching a bit of the volume shadows, and then connecting the technical and the freehand, and that's kind of it. Well, where you've got a inclined plane, you need to have a gradient as well, because the light doesn't fall evenly on a inclined surface. Okay, slightly darker towards the bottom of the volume. Okay, that's going to be again a bit of contrast. When you're drawing a shadow in a planar view, you obviously can have a gradient towards the base and towards the edge of the shadow. Either way, it needs to not look flat. Okay, that's the point. For it to not be flat. Okay, good. Background there. Yeah, just a background there, that's really good. Yeah, a bit of a background now. Okay. And yeah, that's just a gradient that's meant to fill in the different pieces on your drawing. You can have a drawing that's like that. It's full of hatching. There's no centimeter left unhatched. Okay, you can have that effect, and it does work. Okay, just be sure to not make that background look too dark compared to the cast shadows. We probably need to darken those a bit. And yeah, this is starting to really look good. This is top quality stuff here. I need to get this gradient looking, being longer. Like it's starting off at starting off and getting darker, a longer distance. Okay, good. And this is how you get the effect. Yeah. Yeah, stronger gradient there. Yeah, really good. And it's going to probably mix with the colors really soon. Okay, to create that final effect. Okay, a bit more of a gradient for the cast shadow. Maybe get it a bit darker so it looks clearer. Okay, good. And everything is clicking together now. Yeah, maybe a bit of orange in the foreground. Again, with 2B pencil on top to get that interesting effect. Okay. And this is going to be a kind of interesting composition. Okay, because it's like different. It looks really different from whatever else you might see. Let's add a bit of gray on top of the blue and a bit of blue on top of the gray, so the colors jump. And yeah, that's kind of where we need to be. those jumping colors are going to be obviously seen, although they're not logically perceived. You know, your viewer is going to feel that there's something happening there. Okay, so don't think that it goes unnoticed. And this last effect is with these horizontal random lines, we will create much more of a gradient. Cool, done.